Hey there. I am going to talk briefly about anxiety. So, this video is just meant to give a very general overview of anxiety. If you want more detailed information or if you want to dive deeper into it, go to destinationu.net, get on my wait list because I do cover this much more in depth through my virtual groups and my online courses. So this is just meant to be a very general video. Okay, so for anxiety, if you deal with anxiety, you likely know what it is, but just to give you a super quick rundown, anxiety is excessive worrying about things that are out of our control. So worrying about the future, maybe politics, weather. It's worrying about things so much that it's causing us to feel tense and restless. Maybe we aren't able to make decisions, we aren't sleeping as well as we used to, and then it's negatively impacting our relationships with others and our ability to perform at the level that we want at school or work. All right, so anxiety can impact us through two different parts of our brain. And again, I'm really oversimplifying this, but I think this is kind of all you really need. So for the amygdala is part of our limbic system. Amygdala actually means almond. And so it's this little tiny part of our brain. It's super small. We actually have two of them. But it's this little tiny, these two little areas in our brain, and it is completely nonverbal. So the amygdala impacts our anxiety because that's where our fight, flight, or freeze response is, and it's nonverbal. So there's no language. It doesn't have access to the language part of our brain. So what that means is when anxiety comes through the amygdala, it comes through the form of a feeling, or it comes through physical symptoms. So that feeling of discomfort or that something isn't right, but you just can't put your finger on it. You don't know what it is. Or it's the physical symptoms of anxiety that just come out of nowhere. So the racing heart, feeling really hot, maybe sweating, getting jittery, maybe a stomach ache or a headache. Those physical symptoms that aren't triggered by a thought. They just, maybe you woke up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden you're sweating and your heart's racing and you feel really anxious, but you don't know why. So that's our amygdala at work. Now, because the amygdala does not have access to the language part of our brain, it's not going to respond to language. So that means it's not going to respond to logic or reasoning. And the only thing it will respond to is relaxation tools. So relaxation tools such as deep breathing, mindfulness, meditation, progressive muscle relaxation, things like that. If you don't know about relaxation tools or how to use them, definitely go to destinationu.net because we do go into these in much greater detail in my online courses and my virtual groups. But again, that's the amygdala-based anxiety. But anxiety can also come through our cortex. And our cortex is our thinking part of our brain. So that's where we have language, we have reasoning, that's where we can, perform math problems. We can do all kinds of awesome things with our cortex. But when anxiety comes through our cortex, it's usually it always is thought-based. So it might start with a thought of, I'm worried about my husband getting home safely. He hasn't called yet. I hope he's okay. Now that's a thought. Now that thought can trigger my amygdala, and it can now cause the racing heart, jittery feeling, upset stomach, but it all started in the cortex. So when the cortex triggers the anxiety, that's when we can use language to deal with the anxiety. We can use logic or reasoning. We can dispute the thoughts. We can look for evidence that doesn't support it. We can rely on language to talk back to that form of anxiety. All right, so this was a super brief overview. The amygdala is a feeling and its physical symptoms. That's amygdala-based anxiety. It's our fight, flight, or freeze response. When we deal with that, we need to use relaxation tools. Cortex-based anxiety is thoughts. It's when we dwell on problems. We think about something over and over again. And cortex-based anxiety will respond to logic and reasoning, talking back, disputing those thoughts, looking for evidence that does not support the worry thought, coming up with a worry plan, stuff like that. So if you do want to dive deeper into any of these areas or you want to learn more about them, go to destinationu.net. You can get on my wait list for my online course or for my virtual groups where I go into all of this in much greater detail.